Are you writing offers and continuously getting rejected? Well, stay tuned. We are talking about the top 7 reasons why your offer is being rejected by sellers in the market in 2022. And that video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. It's Shayna Fleming with the Fleming team. And today we are talking about the top 7 reasons why your offer is being rejected in the real estate market in 2022. So if this is your first time tuning in, please make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you're notified every time we post videos like this one. All right, guys, let's get into it. All right, so reason number 1, guys, and I know that a lot of people struggle with this, but it's the purchase price. If you are seeing a great home out there, more than likely there are going to be multiple offers on this home. And so if you're only willing to offer the asking price for a home, you are not going to win the bid. Unfortunately, in this market, we are seeing anywhere from 5 up to 25 offers on one property. And in most cases, we're seeing offers that are over ask anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. It's crazy. We even had one that was $40,000 over. And I mean, that offer didn't win, but I'm just saying buyers are desperate. And so they know that they have to go in over ask. So if you are that buyer that is only willing to offer the ask price for a property, then you're not going to win the bid in most cases. And if you are that buyer, it's okay. You just may need to shift your focus towards new construction where you're not going to have to compete against multiple buyers. New construction in our area in particular, they have gone away from the multiple offer situations. So, you're going to pay the ask price unless you want to add blinds or add a fence or a refrigerator or other appliances that the builder may offer that you can add on. But otherwise, that is really going to be your best bet if you are only wanting to offer the list price. And just to elaborate a little bit more, not only do you have to offer a little bit more for the home, you also have to have a conversation with your realtor around what if the home doesn't appraise, right? And so what we're seeing is, buyers are getting creative and saying, hey, if this home doesn't appraise, we're willing to cover an appraisal gap, whether it's $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. And so in some cases, you may offer $10,000 or $15,000 over the ask price, but the home may not appraise for what you offered. And so you may have to come to the table with money. And, for those who are doing that, they are honestly reaping the rewards of paying a little bit extra at closing because home prices are continuously going up. And so while, their home may not have appraised at the time of purchase, within 6 to 12 months time, they're getting that equity back because home prices are continuing to rise every month. And so while it may seem scary to pay more than the home is worth at the time, we've had clients that purchased in 2021 whose home values have increased 5-10% over the last 12 months. So, the money that they brought to the table is, obsolete at this point. If they wanted to turn around and sell it, they would be making some money. So it's just a conversation you want to have with your realtor. If they aren't knowledgeable in that, then you want to find someone who is, because if you are in a situation where you need to buy a home, renting is not an option, then you need to have an experienced realtor that knows their market, that understands what you have to do to get a home, and you have to trust that they have your best interests at heart. Okay, so reason number 2 is your lender and financing type. Guys, this is super important who you work with as your lender. In our market, and probably most markets here in America, local lenders are your best option. If you are trying to go with a Rocket Mortgage or Veterans United or Navy Federal, 9 times out of 10, if you are in a multiple offer situation and your offer is being compared to someone who has a local lender and maybe all of the other terms of the offer are similar, the realtor is going to tell their clients that the local lender, especially if it's someone who is known in the market to get the job done and get it on time and is trusted in the area, that realtor is going to tell their sellers, hey, I'm not sure about this Rocket Mortgage or Navy Federal. This local lender, I've done business with them. They get the job done. They're well known in our area. I would recommend going with this lender. And the reason being is because, the big box lenders, they don't have the knowledge of your specific market area where you're buying in, right? And a lot of times they don't do their due diligence up front. They kind of just do, a soft application. They ask you a couple of questions. What do you make? How long have you been on your job? They don't vet the information up front. So they give you, a desktop pre-approval. And then once you get into the process, and we've seen this multiple times, once you get into the process and you're under contract, then they start asking for documentation and things aren't adding up. And then they're like, oh my gosh, you don't qualify. And so for a seller, that's scary to go under contract and, 15 days in, 20 days in, 2 weeks before closing, they're getting a denial from the lender saying you don't qualify. So it's very important to use a local lender in your area where you're buying, and you can get these recommendations from your realtor to make sure that you have the upper hand when you're writing a contract. And then also finance type. Unfortunately, FHA, VA, those loan types are scrutinized a little bit more when it comes to appraisals, and so sometimes that can scare the sellers away, especially for resales. Now, new construction, you shouldn't have any issues, but if we're talking about the resale market, conventional loan types or cash, and sometimes the FHA can win out those bids. So if you have the option to do different loan types, of course, go with what's best for you. But just know that if a seller is looking at 4 offers, 1 VA, 1 conventional, 1 FHA, 1 cash, more than likely they're going to go with the conventional or the cash offer. Okay, so reason number 3 is closing costs. In times past, let's say, pre-COVID, about 4 years ago, you would be able to ask for the seller to pay some of your buyer's closing costs. In today's market, you have to have your own funds for closing costs. If you need help paying closing costs, then you need to either wait and save up some money or try to get with a lender that has some type of grants or down payment assistance to help you with that. And so, if you're asking for closing costs in 2022, you're not going to win in a resale situation. And I mean, new construction, they're not even going to entertain that at all. You have to have your own closing costs. So I hate to say it, but if you don't have, your down payment, if you're going FHA 3.5%, and then your closing costs, then you need to wait. You need to save up money and revisit this in, 6 to 12 months or just however long it will take you to get your closing costs saved up. Please, please do not ask your realtor to write an offer for you asking for closing costs. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of your time to sit and wait 24 to 48 hours to get a response back from a seller, because that offer is not going to make the top 3 in consideration when they're looking at these multiple offers that they have in front of them. I've even seen in some instances where the buyer is offering to pay some of the seller's closing costs. So, I mean, just know that in 2022 and in the foreseeable future, the seller is not going to pay your closing costs. They have their own closing costs that they have to pay. In times past, that was a courtesy. It was not something that the sellers had to do. It was just something in the period of time that they were willing to do to sell their home. But right now, the ball is in the seller's court, and so they are not going to be paying any of your closing costs. You're going to be responsible for that. So reason number 4 is contingencies. Now, I know in every market, the contracts are different. Here we have 2 different contracts. We have a state contract, and then we have our local MLS contract. And so there is a section for contingencies, and typically in this area, you would write in if you wanted, appliances, or if you wanted some specific or extra stipulations for the seller to meet in the contract. And typically what we see written in this section is for the refrigerator to convey with the home, because in South Carolina, the refrigerator does not convey. And also some other things we may see in this section are, maybe for the seller to pay for a termite bond for a year, or if you're military, VA financing, the seller typically has to pay for the CO 100, which is just a clear termite inspection for the home. And while that's fine, you don't want to fill that area up with a bunch of other contingencies of the contract. If you have a refrigerator, or if you can afford to buy a refrigerator, just buy one. I mean, a lot of the times sellers are willing to leave their refrigerator, and they intend to leave the refrigerator. But in some cases, maybe the seller just bought a brand new refrigerator and they plan to take it with them. So you have to determine, is it worth, is a $1,000 refrigerator worth losing in a multiple offer situation over? Also, other contingencies in most contracts are financing contingencies, and appraisal contingency, and then your due diligence period. I'm going to talk about due diligence in a little bit, so I won't touch on that too much. But if you're in a space where, maybe you have a conventional loan or a cash offer, and you can waive the appraisal, that offer is going to stick out and be at the top of a seller's list in terms of consideration if you are waiving the finance or appraisal contingency. So have those conversations with your realtor as well as your lender. If you're paying cash, if you feel confident in your offer price, then put the contract not contingent on appraisal. If you are going conventional, talk to your lender. If you're putting 20% down, in some cases, you may be able to waive the appraisal. So just have those conversations, because all the terms of the contract matter. And the less contingencies that you can have in a contract, the stronger your offer is going to be. All right, so reason number 5 is close date. Now, some may ask, well, why does that matter? It really does matter, especially if the seller is in a situation where maybe they're under contract for a home that they are trying to close on a specific date on. So they need the contract for their home to match up with that close date. So you may need to be flexible with your close date if you can. Now, I understand in some situations you're maybe coming from another area, you need a place to stay on this date, and so that has to be firm. But if you have any type of flexibility, have your realtor reach out to the seller's agent and say, hey, is there a specific date that works for your clients to close on? And be accommodating. And then on the same hand, the seller may say, hey, we need to close on this date, or can the buyer close earlier than that? So if you have a certain type of financing where maybe you have to close in 60 days or 45 days in some cases, that may not work for the seller. So again, all the terms of the contract matter. So you want your agent to reach out and have a conversation with the seller's agent to see what is going to make the seller most happy with your offer. And your realtor can do that. Make sure they're advocating for you in every part of the contract so that you create a very competitive offer that stands out and makes the sellers want to consider your offer over another. I also want to briefly touch on a program that we are rolling out, especially for 2022, which is our Sell, Stay, and Search. This is more for sellers, but this could be a great opportunity for you if you're maybe relocating to this area or you're currently in a lease for an apartment or rental. So the Sell, Stay, Search is an option where you purchase the home and the seller gets to stay there, and they would lease the home back from you. So they would pay you to stay there for an additional 30 to 90 days while they try to find their next place that they're going to go to. Or maybe they're relocating to another area, but they want to go ahead and sell their home, but their next area that they're moving to isn't going to be quite ready for the next 30 to 90 days. So get creative, have those conversations with your realtor, come up with an amazing plan and an amazing offer so that your offer sticks out and you are at the top of the list and hopefully the winner of a multiple offer situation. So we are halfway through, and I wanted to ask, I'm curious guys, have you written multiple offers over the last 6 to 8 months or the last 6 to 12 months and have been rejected? I want to know, has your realtor gotten feedback from the agent, and what are they telling you why your offer wasn't accepted? I'd love to hear. Please drop the comments below. And if this is your first time tuning in, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if this information is helpful to you, please drop a comment below as well. We love the feedback, and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. All right, let's get back to it. Reason number 6 is earnest money. Guys, this is super important, especially if you have the money. Typically, in most areas, earnest money is 1% of the purchase price. And the minimum in our area is $500. If you are putting an offer in on a home that is $300,000 or $400,000, and you're only willing to put $500 down for earnest money, the seller doesn't feel like you are earnest about the purchase of that home. If you have the money to put the 1% down, put it down. If you have more, put it down. That shows the sellers that you are really interested in purchasing their home. You're serious about it, and you want to stick out. I mean, you have to put the money down anyway. The closing attorney in most cases is going to hold this money, and so you're going to get that money back at closing. I mean, you may not get it back in hand, but it's going to go towards your down payment. It's going to go towards your closing costs. So don't write an offer for really any home unless the house is $5,000, which is not going to be. Don't write an offer with $500 in earnest money. You need to write an offer with at least 1% of the purchase price if you are serious about buying the home. All the terms of the contract matter, this in particular, because what we like to say is this is skin in the game. This is you telling me that you really want my home and that you're going to put the money up and do everything in the contract and meet everything in the contract to get us to the closing table. Now, in some instances, your earnest money is protected. So as long as you stay within the confines of the contract, if you have to back out, your earnest money is protected. You'll get that back. So just have that conversation with your agent. If they're telling you, oh, you only have to put down $500, run. Find you a new agent that is going to be serious about the situation, because when you're competing against 10, 15, 20 offers, the $500 is not going to cut it. Okay, and so reason number 7 is due diligence. So in our area, you have 10 business days of due diligence to get inspections done and make sure the house is sound, and move on from there. Ask for repairs if the home needs it and you have not written the contract as is, meaning that you'll still do your due diligence, but you're not going to ask for any repairs. You have those 10 business days. And so what I have seen is if you're willing to shorten that due diligence to 5 business days, that is going to stick out to the sellers, because you're saying you're going to get in there quickly, make a decision, and not hold their home off the market for 14 days while you're deciding whether you want it or not. So in this due diligence period, your earnest money is protected. So as long as you do your due diligence and decide whether you want to move forward or not, you can get your earnest money back if you decide to back out, as long as you're within that period. So shortening your due diligence makes the seller feel like you're serious, first off, and you're not going to play around, and you're not going to wait till the last hour for whatever reason and say, I decided I don't want this home. I want my earnest money back, and you can put it back on the market. It's frustrating for the seller because in most cases, the seller has plans to either move somewhere else, whether it's out of state or they're buying, their next home. And so when they go under contract, they're trusting you that you're earnest and that you're going to move forward with their home. Now, we do know that it doesn't always work out. And in that due diligence period, things happen. Maybe the home had some underlying issues that you are unaware of and that you're not willing to move forward with, and that's okay. But you need to be earnest in it, especially if you're writing your offer as is. You need to be earnest in that. Once you get the inspection report back, you can't come back and say, there's these minor things and I changed my mind. I don't want this house anymore. I don't want to fix these things. You need to go into the home when you first see it before you write a contract and look for these little minor things, and understand that with a resale home, there are going to be some things that you have to fix. It's just like a used car. I mean, someone's lived in this for X amount of years. There's going to be normal wear and tear. And so you and your realtor should go into the home with an eye to make sure that there aren't crazy things happening. Now, of course, your inspector is going to do a deeper dive into the home to make sure there aren't major things going on. But even in that situation, if you wrote a contract as is, you have to be earnest in that. And so due diligence is something that is important to the sellers. And if you can shorten that by any time, your offer is going to stick out. Also, if you're willing to put down some type of non-refundable fee for due diligence, that is in our state contract. There's a section for that. You will definitely stick out to the sellers if you're saying, hey, I'm going to put down 1% of the earnest money, and during my due diligence period, if I back out for whatever reason, I'm willing to give you, a portion of that earnest money that the sellers will get. That will more than likely win you the bid, even if you didn't offer $20,000 over ask, or even if you don't have the perfect finance type. So really sit down with your realtor, create a plan, create an aggressive offer that is going to have you at the top of the list when sellers are looking at 10, 15, 20 offers. If you're curious about the market trends and what's happening in the market and what we predict will happen in the market as we enter into the last month of first quarter and then rolling into quarter two, make sure you check out Cameron's video. He has a market update video. I'll drop the link here above. And also, again, if you're that buyer that you don't have the funds available to pay an appraisal gap, or you don't have the funds available to cover all of your closing costs, you need to reevaluate your situation, have a real conversation with your realtor, and maybe take a step back and wait until you have those funds available, or shift and look at the new construction route, because that's more than likely the only options you're going to have. As we roll into the second quarter here in Columbia, we're moving into PCS season, so there are a lot of military people coming our way. and it's already started and it's going to continue to happen. And so what we know is you're going to continue to be in multiple offer situations for the great homes. Even if you're looking at homes that are above $350,000, we're still seeing multiple offer situations. And the homes that are above $450,000, those homes are moving quickly as well. So please trust what your realtor is telling you. They have your best interests at heart. They're not telling you something because, they want to get you to just buy a home. They're telling you this because they have experience and they've been in the situation and they understand what you have to do if you really want to buy a home in this market. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope that you could take something away so that you can maybe get a little bit more creative with your offers and finally get your home and reach your goals of being a homeowner in 2022. And so I'm going to leave you guys with this. This market isn't for everyone, and if that is you, it's okay. But please know that homes are going to continue to rise. The prices are going to continue to rise. It's not a matter of, people just wanting to be greedy. It's a matter of inventory, and there's just not a lot of homes out there, and there are a lot of buyers. And so the demand of buyers are going to drive the market up. And so you may want to just reconsider if you don't have that tough skin to be competitive in this market. You may just want to reevaluate your situation and just have that hard conversation. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, I hope this video was helpful to you. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Drop your comments below. We look forward to reading them and responding. Until next time, guys. Bye.